This Week in Startups is brought to you by DigitalOcean, providing the easiest cloud platform to deploy, manage, and scale applications. Sign up today and receive a free $100 credit at do.co/twist. Four Sigmatic. Awaken your mind, support your well-being. Special offer for Twist, 15% off at foursigmatic.com/twist or use discount code TWIST at checkout. And Gusto. Easy online payroll, benefits, and HR built for modern small businesses. Get 3 months free when you run your first payroll at gusto.com/twist.
We're going to have 5 founders present for 6 minutes each. They're going to tell you the hardest, best lesson they've learned. First up, Alan, and these are... Followed by discussion. And followed by a discussion. 2 of these we've invested in, and that includes Fitbod. Alan, you have 6 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, go.
Thank you, Jason. I'm Alan, and we're with Fitbod. Fitbod is a top 25 ranked health and fitness app, the only one that uses data to drive workout progression. Fitbod tracks your workouts at the gym, then uses machine learning to combine your workout history, your gym profile, and your personal preferences to build your next workout. So tomorrow, you just open up the app and you know exactly what to do. You don't have to plan ahead, and you don't have to guess at what might be the best thing to do. We went to the App Store a few years ago, and over the past 18 months, we've been seeing 20% month-over-month growth that continues through today. So these thoughts are specific to us as a consumer subscription business. There's many ways to do things, and here's what worked for us. It all starts with product. That's the secret. Build a great product. It's the main thing that matters and a #1 focus for us as a company. People often ask how we grew, why paid UA works so well, how we're able to retain users in a typically churny market. For us, growth starts with product. User acq goes back to people willing to pay for our product. And we're able to retain users with people who find continued value for a long time with our product. These users then become Fitbod evangelists who tell all their friends about us. You can't hack a good product. It takes time. We were a 2-person team for the first couple years, and all we focused on was product. Only when we got the product to a really good place did we think about expansion. And I think it's easier than ever to get started. With the third-party tools available today, we were able to put Fitbod in the App Store with just $6,000. After that, we started charging, and we became profitable, and we've been profitable ever since. I believe we should all raise the quality bar for product. People slap together a product, call it MVP, and wonder why they don't get downloads. And then people prematurely self-decide on product market fit and try to scale, and then wonder why marketing or paid user acquisition doesn't work. We kept our personal quality bar high, and we'll continue to maintain that high quality bar. It's the job of the founding team to get from 0 to 1 in all business verticals. Then to find the right individuals to join the team to take it from 1 to 100. We had to master the vertical for ourselves, so we knew what to look for. We also knew there wasn't someone else who was going to figure it out for us. So, for example, with product, there were 2 of us. We built the entire product, and we did the design, development, and machine learning for the product. And this is our skill set and our background, so we know what to do. Now we have an engineering team that scales the product with us. With customer success, we answered all of the initial emails from our users, which is critical in guiding initial product development. Now we have a customer success team that is far more efficient and is able to take the feedback from our users to guide our roadmap. With paid user acq, Jesse and I are still spearheading this. Jesse makes the content, and I do the data analysis on all of the keywords, the creatives, and the ad sets, and I manage the campaigns. And right now, we're currently looking for data analysts, content creators, growth marketers to take this to the next level, and financials and recruiting and so on. In the future, we'll find specialists for these roles, but that'll be for later on. We never expected others to do the work for us. If they could do it and they could do a good job, they might as well build the startup themselves. A dev shop wasn't going to build our product, and an outside firm isn't going to do what we need to handle ourselves. And even for us, one of our misunderstandings in going through 2 incubators was that we thought they were going to figure out our business strategy, our fundraising, our hiring. We quickly learned that they were great resources to tap into, but we had to go through it ourselves. With team, we have 2 aspects when evaluating candidates to join our team: skill set and motivation. Skill set is binary. Either they have the ability or they don't, or you think they have the potential. Inspiring the team is the role of the founders. We have senior engineers who pick off additional projects to do for fun, junior engineer who goes back and refactors code multiple times to make sure he gets it right, and customer success who's visibly upset when she has to deal with a rude customer. And so with that, we know we have a team that really cares about each other and what we're building together. We've received tons of help from mentors. People have gone through this before and are really happy to offer their help, which is pretty incredible to me. The best places that we found mentors, we sought out mentors in the same space that we found a warm intro to, or we reached out to alumni of our incubator. In the past, we've been assigned mentors, but the ones that we've worked with for a long time are the ones that we sought out for ourselves. What other people think. We worked on putting together the pieces of the rocket ship rather than a facade of what the rocket ship might look like. That allowed us to take off when we actually ignited. We didn't worry about outside valuation. We knew at our core, it didn't matter who we were or how anyone else perceived us. What really mattered was that we were building something amazing. And case in point, fundraising. With us, we didn't play the image game or the FOMO game. We built relationships. And that allowed us to partner with the right investors. I'm almost done. So we got our growth with the right investors. And final slide, that's a bit about how we built Fitbod. There's still a long road ahead, and we're excited for what's to come. And we'll apply the same principles and learnings as we continue to grow our product, company, and team. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Alan. Now we have Cooper Harris from Klickly.
Hey all, I'm Cooper. I'm the CEO at Klickly. I am here today to talk to you guys about how to know when to scale. And then more specifically, what learnings we at Klickly learned in terms of identifying the key pieces that we needed to put in place before pouring fuel onto the fire. So what is Klickly? We are a SaaS platform. We have about 900 brands leveraging our machine learning to hit their best fit customers across 25 million sites and power offsite sales. But more importantly, we're a company that's in a really high growth phase right now. So what does that mean? We're onboarding 100 brands a month. We have grown our consumers from 500,000 to 5 million. We have grown our distribution from 150,000 sites to over 25 million. We work with really cool big companies. And then, most importantly, we have awesome advisors and investors. But this was not always the case, okay? Early on, we actually struggled to figure out what were those 3 key pieces that we needed, that was that inflection point, right, where we could take on money and scale profitably in an intelligent way. And I think a lot of startups struggle with this. So first and foremost, early on, we did not have product market fit. Demand for our product was kind of there, but it was shaky at best. Our automation was less than could be desired. We had a lot of people still doing manual processes, right? And then finally, we hadn't cracked that success equation, so our unit economics were fuzzy at best. So I'm just gonna pause. This is all really obvious stuff for us, right? It is in theory, but in practice it can get hazy, and recently I've seen a ton of my friends burn through millions of dollars before they actually have a model that fits, that kind of equips them for scale. So I hope that kind of what we learned in this is helpful to you guys. First and foremost, this is that first point. How do you create significant demand? We know we have to do this. How do you create a product that is impossible to say no to? So first and foremost, we learned we wanted that sales cycle to be really easy, but it wasn't. We were working with Fortune 500 companies, and it took a long time to get them over the hump to sign up. This sales cycle was not pretty. So on the back of a ton of optimizations and a long period of beta testing, we now have a sales cycle that is literally 2 days to 3 weeks versus about 6 months. So when we compared and contrast, we realized we really felt like we had cracked the second one. People now say, wow, this is a no-brainer. Who would say no to your product? So that's when we started hearing that. We're like, okay, maybe we can look at this second point. What is our virality? In the beginning, that's what K-factor stands for, right? In the beginning, our K-factor was abysmal. We were just selling that stuff and no one was talking about it. But fortunately for us, after we again, along that beta, did a lot of optimizations, that started to change. We started to get customers saying to us, here's how you'll know. We got customers saying like, can we use your product? We're like, where'd you come from? They had come from other customers that we currently serviced, and now were coming on board with us. So now, compared to in the beginning, we have 80 to 100 brands onboarding themselves organically to our platform. We pay zero in customer acquisition, which means that my CAC is virtually zero, and my competitors are paying $100 to $200 per customer. That makes me very happy. The third point here is, what is the value prop? Our brand's saying, this is cool, I can't get this elsewhere. Once we kind of cracked these three, we were like, okay, that first kind of road to scalability is there. Let's look at the other things. The second thing we struggled with was, frankly, automation, right? First and foremost, we realized scaling a team was really expensive, much more than scaling tech, and we were tiny and we were in LA, and we also couldn't hire people fast enough. So the idea of having too many bodies that our tech was dependent on was killing us. So what we did was we automated the whole platform. We built out something very robust, and we went from being a company that served Fortune 500s, meaning 4 business team members could service 4 clients, very unscalable, to now those same 4 business team members serve our 900 brands. That's something I can finally get excited about and say, yes, this is a scalable proposition. We can actually pour fuel on the fire. And then finally, this one's so obvious, everybody in the audience is like, come on. But we need to think about this, because I see so many people have very just fuzzy unit economics, and it was super hard for us at first. Our LTV, we didn't know in the beginning, because we were 3 months old. We didn't know how long people would stick around. But we did some predictive modeling and some assumptions that helped us dial that in. We put in the time and the work. You can't go on your gut. I tried that, it doesn't work. And then our CAC. So for our customer acquisition early on, we didn't pay to acquire these Fortune 500 companies, right, that we were working with. And I was really proud of that. I was like, our CAC is 0. Well, guess what? It took 6 months to close every single one of them. So I need to factor in time, opportunity costs, salaries, all of that. Now, fortunately, because of the K-factor, that is much better. So early on, all to say, this model, it did not work. Now it does. Now we have an LTV and a CAC that mean that for every dollar we invest, we make 9.5. So I feel that that's a success equation I can look at and kind of objectively say that works. A lot of people are like, great, so are you pouring fuel on the fire now? I'm not going to answer that up here. Talk to me later. But I hope that, just hearing how we struggled and what we identified to help us get through there will help you guys take a really kind of objective look at how we hit these things and not take money until you actually have all these things nailed. And when you do, you'll be like a massive, raging success. Thank you all very much.
Yes, my friend Mitch Weiner called into this very podcast 8 years ago in 2010 and asked me for advice. Hey, what should I do with my life? I want to be in the startup game. I said, hey, go to Techstars or some incubator, find the best company there and join it. The best company he could find was DigitalOcean, and he came back on the podcast, gave me a high five in 2014 after Andreessen Horowitz put $37 million into the company. And since that time, DigitalOcean has been on fire. El Fuego. They have 150,000 businesses using their service to deploy, manage, and scale their applications. You don't want to have to deal with infrastructure. You want to get all that friction out of your way, and you want to use their huge resources, a big community with tutorials and resources to help you scale your business. It's very straightforward billing when you're using DigitalOcean. You always know what you're going to pay. And it's a flat pricing structure across all data centers. This makes life easy. And here's what Content Ignite said about DigitalOcean. Since moving to DigitalOcean, our setup is ultimately more capable than when we had before the migration. Downtime has become a rarity, and our hosting costs have decreased by more than 90%. What? It's not 9%. There's a zero there. Oh my God, they're saving 90%. That is completely believable. They're doing a great job at DigitalOcean. A lot of my startups are using it. They've been great in supporting our incubator, and you can get a hundy. That's what we do here. We get you hundies. You can get a $100 credit right now by going to do.co/twist. do.co/twist. Get it, DigitalOcean? Go to do.co/twist and get your hundy. That free $100. They do an amazing job. They have great technical support, and they're big friends of the show. So when you go there, make sure you visit do.co/twist so we get credit for referring you to such a great service. You're going to love it. And Mitch, thanks for the support over the years, and I'm super happy for you and the team at DigitalOcean. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode.
Next up is David Temple of Pinterest.
Hi, guys. My name is David, and my startup failed. I run the content and creator teams at Pinterest. Before that, I spent 3 years running a company called Scout. Scout was an app for booking in-destination tours, activities, car rentals, things like that through your hotel or Airbnb. And when I think back, what I want to talk about today is what I will and won't repeat from that experience for my next startup. And when I think about that experience, I think about it basically in 3 phases. There's the pre-money phase, and that's what I'll talk most about because that's where we made most of our mistakes. There's the growth phase after we raised a little money, and then the shutdown or get acquired phase at the end. And so the pre-money phase, what that looked like for us was 3 of us sitting in my kitchen. We were purpose-driven. We knew we wanted to build a travel app, and we were specifically building an iOS app. And so some mistakes that we made, first off, we were way too product focused in the early days. We spent all of this time thinking about load time on the app and user experience and the design. And we had this really slick app. And to be honest, I think it did help us raise some money. But the problem is that it's a zero-sum game. And that's all time that we could have been spending getting revenue in the door. And instead we were spending it getting the app perfect. And actually we ended up throwing away the app a year later and taking a different route. And so it was kind of a waste of time. The other mistake that we made is that we conflated our metrics with our fundraise. And what I mean by that is when you're in fundraising mode, you're putting everything through the rosy colored lens of if everything goes my way, what will these numbers look like? And when you're building your own models, you need to, or at least we should have been looking at it through the other lens, which is what if nothing goes my way? What if everything works against me? None of my assumptions are true. And it's so easy because you'll go into a pitch and an investor will ask you a really good question, and then you'll use it as a forcing function to define some of your own metrics. And then you'll rely on those numbers internally, but those numbers are all based on these assumptions that are optimistic assumptions so that you can tell them to investors. And then I think the last mistake that we made is I underestimated the importance of a diverse team. We were a group of introverts. We lacked diversity, so we didn't have anybody who would really wanted to be out selling the business. And we also didn't have anybody who would tell us, hey, this is a problem that is unique to a very small set of people. You guys, not everybody in the world is like you. And then we all wanted to be spending all our time building the product. But we also did some things well. One of them is we found amazing advisors. I talked to a lot of founders who tell me I don't know how to use my advisors, or I don't have great advisors. Advisors were one of the most valuable parts of our journey. I highly recommend don't be stingy with them. Get somebody great. Give them what they ask for. Somebody who you can call every single day because they're really valuable. The other thing that we did really well is we chose a really big opportunity or a really big market. And I love this quote from Jason where he said at some point, I think in one of our pitches, you can change your team or you can change your products, but you can't change the size of your opportunity. And I think this helped us with fundraising a lot. And finally, we had really predictable user growth channels. We were a B2B2C company. We were selling through hotels to their customers. And that meant that we could pretty easily forecast how many users we were going to have each month. We didn't have to go out and kind of rely on anything that was like super seasonal or et cetera. And this was really helpful for us. So talking about the growth phase. Biggest mistake we made there, and this is probably the biggest mistake we made overall, and something that was relevant to a conversation that was just had up here, is we just charged too little for our product. As you can see, like our revenue was growing, it was going up, things were looking good, but it's really easy to say to yourself, this is my first few customers, I'm gonna give them a discount because I'm gonna get a lot of feedback from them, and then they introduce you to some other customers, so you give them the same price, and then all of a sudden it's too late to raise your prices. You do raise your prices and it's too late for the business. But we did a couple things well in this phase as well. We showed up at every industry event, which we won awards, and we made a lot of friends with our competitors. And this generated a whole bunch of hype, or at least like enthusiasm. People knew our names, and this was really helpful to us when we had to go out and sell the business later. And so I'd highly recommend doing that, and then keep in touch with those people. So we sent out a monthly email. We were pretty open and transparent with how we were doing. And that actually, we got a lot of leads from people who we thought were competitors and actually ended up being sort of helpful on our journey. And then finally, the shutdown or get acquired phase. This happened last year. And I think the biggest mistake we made here is we just underestimated how long this takes. It is really painful. Decide right away if you're open to acqui-hires, because if you have a couple engineers, like every big company wants to talk to you and they're just gonna waste a ton of your time. And if you're not even open to it, don't waste your time on that. And also don't try to do it with a 2-month-old, which is what I tried. Like, that is a terrible time to try and sell a company. If you are gonna do it though, run like a really tight M&A process, like a fundraise. Just trust that your product will get you offers at the end of the day. So what we did is we created 2 diligence rooms. We had a diligence room that had like our top level metrics that were available to basically anybody who asked. If you said like, I have some interest in your company, we just gave them that. And then we had a further diligence room with all of our numbers, all of our metrics, everything we spent. And if you gave us an LOI by a certain date, then we gave you access to that. And then we had a hard deadline where we said offers are due on this date. And that was really scary because we basically didn't think that we would get any offers. But you just have to have trust in what you've built and set that deadline, because if you don't, people will drag on the conversation and all of a sudden you're totally out of time and out of runway and you have to take what you get. And during that process, the other thing I think we did particularly well that I will definitely do again is we just really over communicated with our investors. Jason will tell you, Jason was one of our investors. I think I was emailing Jason every week for the last few months there. And what this means is that when we had some amazing investors, and what that meant is that when we finally did have an offer in hand and we knew what we wanted to do, we knew everybody was aligned. They all knew what was coming. And so there was no surprises. We were able to close it all down. So that was our experience. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, David. Next up is Jordan Stone.
Hello. I'm Jordan Stone from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm the co-founder of Project Admission, which I'll tell you about in a second. So my background, this is kind of pre-startup life for me. So 17 Magazine in New York, I wrote for them, and then I moved over to management with Taylor Swift, where I launched all of her digital, everything for her online for 4 years. And then I moved to Chegg, where I was a PM. Then I went into the world that everyone is here for, the startup life. So I started Huckle. We were in the incubator with Jason. It was a social network. I'll tell you more about that. We ended up shutting down. That inspired a lot of this conversation. Then I have now founded Project Admission, which is in the live event ticketing space. So I'm here to give you like direct and useful advice, like things you can actually take notes on and take home with you and immediately put towards your startup. Things that I've learned that I can pass on to you, some failures of mine that I've learned. So let's do this, top 10 list. Everyone loves a top 10 list, right? Let's do it, let's run through it. Number 1, outsource HR if you can. I cannot stress this enough. I'm dealing with it right now. And the reason for that is your employees are so important, and HR is about your employees, keeping them happy. If you mess up payroll, big problems. Number 2, create and manage a pro forma and stick to it. If you are reading that right now on that screen and you don't have a pro forma for your startup, you are doing a disservice to your investors and your business. Keep a budget. Number 3, make your life easier with other services. Gusto for payroll, Klickly for setting up your company, and QuickBooks. QuickBooks I use every single day. Every dollar that comes in and out of my business, I'm tracking. Number 4, have weekly one-on-one meetings with your employees. This is for them, not for you. You are doing this so that you're listening to them. You're hearing their concerns. Every single week, do not cancel all of your employees. You should be doing that as a founder. Number 5, have an amazing lawyer that you trust. So someone that you can call that can provide you amazing feedback. You are not a lawyer yourself, unless you are. But most of us are not. So have that person that you trust and give them equity if they deserve it. Number 6, bring on advisors. So kind of like that, the same thing with a lawyer, but advisors that can help you across your entire business, and be persistent with them. Ask them favors. Ask them to introduce you to connections in your industry, etc. Use them. Make sure they answer the phone and can actually help you. Give them equity. Number 7, some real talk. No one in an early stage startup should make over $100,000 a year. It's that simple. Some reasons behind that: you don't want mercenaries. We're not here to get rich off our salaries, right? So it's just make that a baseline. No one makes more than $100,000. And you can kind of weight that out with salary and equity. Give them more equity and less salary. Number 8, the 2 biggest priorities for you are building a great team and traction. The team leads to a great product, right? But guess what? If you have a great product and no one is using it, who cares? It doesn't matter. Number 9, raise 18 months of runway. So my friend Jason DeMont yesterday said raise 24. I agree with that. And the reason for that is what you raise, that length of time that you raise for, let's say you raise for a year, you're back out half of that time raising. So 6 months later, you're back out and you're wasting time for your business. And number 10, this is obvious, I know. You read that and you probably laugh. But here's the thing. Your startup is a business, not a hobby. You should be making revenue or having a clear and immediate path to it. I know because I had a social network with no revenue and no plan to get revenue. I did it myself, trust me. Some bonus content, M&A. So we went through the M&A process with Google and Twitter. It was fantastic. Never too early to start conversations. If you would like to get acquired, have those conversations early. Start the conversation, start it rolling, get them, using your product and get them interested. Next, don't hide the fact you're having multiple conversations. Let them know about each other. Don't name names, but let them know that there's a lot of interest out there. Get people talking, right? And last but not least, kind of a bombshell here. The M&A talks with both Twitter and Google stopped in their tracks because the entire team would not relocate to the Bay Area. They wanted everyone. When I told them that our entire team wasn't willing to do it, it killed the deals. Yeah. So hopefully that's some learnings for you guys, and that's it for me. Thank you.
I am super excited to tell you why my energy level is so high. You're wondering, why is JCal so indefatigable? I'm going to tell you today, it's Four Sigmatic. I drink their mushroom coffee with lion's mane every day. Sometimes I'll drink their mushroom hot cacao mix, and you're probably saying, what is this about? Mushroom, the hot chocolate? Well, I found out about this great company, Four Sigmatic, because my wife loves Tim Ferriss and listens to his podcast. So she starts buying Four Sigmatic. I start drinking Four Sigmatic. My daughter, my wife, we're all drinking it all the time, and we love it. It is coffee, okay? Let me just make that clear. It's 100% organic Arabic coffee beans, but it doesn't taste like mushrooms, even though it has those mushrooms in there too. promote your productivity, focus, and creativity. It's coffee without the jitters, and it is really delicious. I drink it all the time. Sometimes I mix them together, I'll be totally honest. I'll take the cacao, the mushroom cacao, and I'll mix it with the lion's mane mushroom elixir, but it's going to be great for your focus level, and I really enjoy drinking it. It tastes great. We keep it here at the office. Everybody loves it. We're going through packets after packets, and we have an amazing offer for you today from our friends at Four Sigmatic. You're going to get 15% off, which is significant. And you just have to use the following link, foursigmatic.com/twist, and then, or you can use the discount code TWIST at checkout. But go to foursigmatic.com/twist. Let me spell that out for you. You know how to spell four, F-O-U-R. Sigmatic, SIGMATIC.com. foursigmatic.com/twist. Go ahead and get yourself some of this amazing lion's mane, or maybe the mushroom hot cacao mix. Just so many great products from our friends over there at Four Sigmatic, and I can't say enough about how much we love these drinks at home, and I'm super excited to have them as a partner now on This Week in Startups, because it makes it super easy for me to read this ad. It's an endorsement. I seriously love the product. Okay, go to foursigmatic.com/twist, or use the discount code TWIST at checkout to get that 15%. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode.
Hey, y'all. Everybody still awake out there? Woohoo! All right. I'm Abby. I'm the recovering founder, never a former, once a founder, always a founder, but now current entrepreneur in residence, so I've lived to see the other side of a failing startup. So here to share just a couple of tips similar to other founders on the stage. So I was a first-time founder, so my learning curve was incredibly steep, and I started with this radical notion that if you brought together the people who designed physical products in our world, so think the chairs that you're sitting on, the iPhone case that's wrapped around your phone, those kinds of products, if you brought together the people who designed those with the people who manufactured them, and ultimately the consumers who were going to buy them, and had them have a conversation ongoing, you'd end up with a better product. And proud to say that after some early market traction, raising a couple $1 million in venture and building out a team, we actually successfully did that. We were able to work with some of the biggest brands out there, some of the smallest and most innovative startups, and actually change how products came to market. However, there was a lot of time that took and a lot of small learning curves that we had to go up, and it took us too long. And ultimately, we were, quote unquote, a failure in that we never actually were acquired. After 6 years, we realized that this was going to be at best a lifestyle business based on what we had built. And so I'm happy to share some of the things that I've learned that I would not do again, as well as a couple of the things that really saved us and made getting to the other side a really exciting place to be. So as a founder, I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but I have a huge case of shiny object syndrome. So I love the next big thing, whatever that's going to be. I'm the early adopter on like all sorts of things. And so if it's a new software that we should have been trying in a certain part of the company, or if it was a customer who has a big logo that was like, oh, I want to get that logo on my next deck. Or going to a whole bunch of different meetups to learn a whole bunch of new things. I suffered from that. And when you think about the lessons that folks have mentioned up here about, you have 18 months, you have at best 24 hours in a day. Please don't be spending 24 hours a day on your startup. Get some sleep. But that's only about 10,000 hours. So you can't be constantly chasing all the new shiny objects. And that's a lesson that I learned too far in and didn't pay attention to. On the flip side of that, I did, over time, learn to simplify. And part of being a founder is you can see how you want the world to look, and you can see if your product comes to life and this company really fulfills its full mission, the world will be a better place because of it. And so I wanted all of that to happen right away, and really learned over time to simplify both the markets we were going into. So for example, we became a really good leading player in the home decor space and the IoT space. So it allowed us to be really, really specific on our marketing and our channel and our go-to-market channels and our pricing, versus trying to do it on every single product that's on the face of the earth. And same thing on the product side. It made our product team be able to really focus on what the features needed to get built, and not instead of promising the moon to everybody. A don't, as we're sitting here all shilling out a whole bunch of advice, is it's your job as a founder to stand up a process to kind of take that advice in. You have to be able to say, okay, let me weigh a bunch of people's opinions in a way that doesn't overtake, and I want to iterate on every single thing that I hear and learn from different people. For example, when we were pitching, we would go out and we did Jason's point about in the funnel on how many people you're going to talk to. You're going to talk to 150 different people about your startup. They're all going to want your pitch deck to look a little bit different. And if you iterate it every single time based on what they said, that's a huge waste of time. And so instead you have to take a week and say, okay, what did we learn this week? How can we impact and change and overall so that we have more data points than just one person's opinion? And lastly, and this is the one that I hold true and I'm so grateful for because it really, I think, made this go from a crash landing into a very successful landing, not only for myself, but for my team, is that we were transparent. And we weren't the kind of company where everybody saw access to every single financial number in the company or, saw everybody's, hiring bios and all that kind of stuff. But we did share enough of how the business development funnel was growing, how the product roadmap was going and where there were bugs, how fundraising was progressing. And what that allowed for was, in the good times, it meant that we all could celebrate a little bit more together in a really productive way. And in the bad times, it meant that everybody had visibility to how we were doing as a company. And so when it came to that we had about a year, or about 9 months, where we knew that the company was going to shut down or we were going to try and exit. And that transparency allowed for our team to make their own evaluations of their own life and their own needs to show up and be able to decide how much longer they could hang around for. And as a human, that's really important because it's their lives. It's their rent, it's their future. And so I'm really proud to say that because of that, all of our team, there were 7 of us when we were at full steam, moved on to much bigger and better things after that, which was great. And then on the investor side, we were able to we kept our investors up to date with easily, we did quarterly emails, we did monthly board meetings, and I was regularly texting with our largest investors because especially during the downside, they were able to see that we were actually still trying to be really good stewards of their capital, but then they were also able to be partners for us, and they were able to really help us keep going and add more fuel to that fire as we needed to as we were winding down. And so lastly, I'll just end with, again, I'm a rose-colored glasses, half glass full founder at heart. It's painful. Winding down is hard, and it takes longer than you'd expect. We were in the process for about a year. By the time all the paperwork is done and the last tax bill gets paid and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm a better person because of going through that journey, and I'm so proud of where my team's gotten and the relationships that we've built because of it. So even if it's worth taking the risk, it's maybe not going to work out, and you'll live to see another day. So.
We use and love Gusto at all of my companies, Launch, Inside. And why do we love it so much? Well, I was just talking to Ashley, who's been our COO and the managing director of our syndicate, and she loves the fact that it is so quick and easy for us to onboard new employees. That process used to be arduous. With Gusto, it is seamless. And they give you persistent and helpful communications on a regular basis about what's going on. And I am on the administrative email addresses so I can see this as the CEO, even though I don't manage it anymore. But I like to see those communications. They're not annoying, but they're persistent, and they keep you informed and make sure that you do everything right, including things like your benefits, commuter benefits we started giving, healthcare, dental, vision, all that good stuff. Hey, 401k, 529, which is that awesome tax break you get when you start saving for college and HSA, all the payroll, all the benefits in one place. This is what makes Gusto so amazing. Payroll, taxes, and HR is easy. Super easy for your small business. Fast, simple payroll processing, all your benefits in one place. And by the way, they have tremendous support. Chat if you don't like to talk to people on the phone, or phone if you don't like to chat. Either one you can do. So now is the best time to get set up. Obviously, the new year is coming, so I don't want you to wait. And listeners of This Week in Startups get an amazing offer. They get 3 months free when they run their first payroll, okay? 3 months free. So I want you to try a demo yourself. I want you to go to Gusto, gusto.com/twist. Gusto.com/twist. I use it. Ashley manages it. We love it. It's very easy for me to read this ad for Gusto because it is the best solution out there for all your HR needs. Payroll, benefits, taxes. You want to make it easy and you want to get back to work on your product, and you can do that by going to gusto.com/twist. gusto.com/twist. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. I really like this new format we tried. 6 minutes. Give us your biggest learnings format. That was really well done. I felt like I learned. I'm going to stand. I'm good. Yeah. So, to David, Jordan, and Abby, who are portfolio companies of ours that didn't work out, we are very interested in being in business with you again. I know, Jordan, with your new company, we're going to be meeting and talking about it. And we've already talked about it when you had the idea. We like to invest in the arc of a founder's career. And failure is part of that arc, right? And one failure leads to, a lot of learnings, as you saw here. And my gosh, it's like, I feel more impressed with each of you after this presentation than I did even when I was at the highest point in each of your companies. I mean that sincerely, like really, like you're all such amazing executives and founders and leaders. Let's talk a little bit about how you feel, for the people whose company shut down, about entrepreneurship after, and I want to know, maybe lead with how many months has it been since the shutdown, and what kind of recovery did you have after that? How did you reconcile it? Because we had Alex talk about calm.com here. Mental health has come up a number of times. We had Chamath yesterday talk about shutting it all down, and he feels better, a weight lifted, and dealing with his own demons in building his empire. Maybe I'll just start with you, Abby. When did the kind of official shutdown happen, and how have you been recovering and re-energizing since?
Yeah, so we knew we were going to shut down as a company in the fall of 16. It didn't officially shut down until early 18, so it took that long. I didn't necessarily do the most healthy way of recovering in that I jumped into politics. I jumped in and started running digital for a statewide campaign back in my home state of Wisconsin because there was that founder juice of like, I still need to create some serious change. And so now that campaign that I was a part of on the political world is done, now I'm finally taking that time and literally taking the next 6 to 9 months to just kind of pause on what the last decade basically of my life has been.
So you went from something low stress to something super toxic. Seems like you're making great choices. Now you're going to take a pause. Good. David, how has it been, the transition out of being a founder and that incredible excitement? And by the way, I just thought both of your presentations were very self-aware, which is super important in life. How's it been landing and working at a big company? And you got that itch yet, or what's going on? How many months has it been?
So it's been about a year. And it's funny that you ask. We were just talking before we came out here about how painful it was to go through all of the materials to put these slides together and how raw it still is. I had sort of suppressed a lot of this. And actually, I gave a version of this presentation at the incubator about a year ago when it was only a few months after we'd shut down the business. And I went home to my wife and I was like, I don't know how I got out of there without crying. This is just really rough. So it's been hard, but I will say I'm really enjoying time at a big company. It's really nice to be focused on, my job now is to build products instead of my job being to do accounting and HR and fundraising and everything but building a product. And that part is fun, but I'm not building a company, I'm building products, and I really miss that. And so I'm sure...
Wait, you missed the company building?
I missed the company building.
So the itch is there.
Yeah, I don't think that'll ever go away.
And the reason part of the process here of you guys sharing this and having you come to the incubator is, there's a little bit of founder PTSD, I think, and, having been through this for a couple decades now, talking about it which is why talk therapy happens to be one of the best therapies, ever created and way for people to reduce their stress. The more you talk about it and you do that rehash, hey, here's what happened. Let me think about it. Let me take myself back to that moment. Actually, it diffuses that energy. And it lets you abstract it and put it on the side over here. Okay, Mahalo.com was not Jason Calacanis. It failed, but Inside.com continues, and there's still progress to be made in other parts of my life, right? And it does take a little while, but I can tell you, I think about Mahalo 0% of the time. Like somebody brings up SEO and then maybe it triggers me. It's like, oh, trigger warning. Jordan, let's talk about your failure. What was the distance between the failure and the starting of a new idea?
So we shut down about 2 years ago, and immediately when we shut down, I was like, what am I doing next? The next day. It was in my blood. I was like, what is next? And I would say it was under a year that I started the next thing, somewhere around there.
When did you start thinking about the next thing?
The actual idea was a while, because I was like, I know I want to do something next, but I don't know what the idea is, right? I didn't have it. So technically immediately, but the actual idea probably 9 months later or so. Sorry.
What was the 9 months in between where you just hang out at the club or something you're doing?
Contract work, trying to delay, basically not having to get like a real job, and just making sure I had enough income to get by until I could do my next company.
Cooper, you seem to have started to figure it out, which is great. But you got to see what's that?
As of now, yeah.
As of now. But you got to see these, I think, pretty raw presentations from David, Jordan, and Abby about their failures and the shutdowns. Was there particular moments in any of their talks that spoke to you? I'm curious.
A little bit. I think I'd never thought about the fact, and Abby really honed in on this, just the timeline and the prep that it would take to wind something down that honestly never occurred to me. Yeah, I think, maybe I don't know if this is failing, I think it's a fact. One fact about myself in this process is I'm just like seeing this upward trajectory, and it's rosy glasses and glass half full, and I'm like, boom, failure's impossible, knowing full well that that's not the case. But it's really interesting just how your perspective changes, and it's so valuable to get these other perspectives.
Alan, same question. You watch these other ones, and I know that I get the monthly updates every month. It's up and to the right and pretty exciting. Was there something in these presentations that resonated with you that were, look out for that, or things like, I'm glad we dodged that bullet. I was aware of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think for me, this is my first time being in this position, and I'm always aware of what I don't know, and I'm always trying to figure out, what can go right that I don't know, and also what can go wrong that I don't know. So this has been super helpful for me to actually hear other people's stories go through this. Especially even for me, I had a project in the past as well. I wouldn't even call it a startup, but we did everything wrong. And going through the process of doing everything wrong allowed me to kind of start all over and figure out, okay, the next time I was going to do things, how would I do it and how would I do it the right way?
Yeah, let's give a big round of applause to David, Jordan, and Abby. I think they were pretty raw, and it takes a lot of courage to come up and talk about it, I think, objectively like that. Let's talk a little bit about investor relationships. Couldn't all have gone well. Some investors must have been perturbed, angry, without naming names, obviously, or my name at least. What were some of the tough moments with investors? Were there tough moments? I'll open it up, yeah. People angry, people you had to talk down off the ledge, or was everybody cool? And take us into that.
This may be Pollyannish, but truly my experience was I was floored at how understanding people were. And it was sitting at the computer. So thankfully, the people who had invested the most amount of money knew every step of the way where every dollar was going for the last year. That was very transparent, so I think that helped. But then the broader, because we had done a syndicate, and here I was about to send an email to 100 people saying, sorry, we lost it all. And you've been getting updates over the last year saying this isn't going well, but still to hit that one, that was very anxiety-inducing email to hit send and go like, I don't know what the world's going to come back at me with. And you were the first one to reply back and say like, great, can't wait for the next one. And it was like, okay, wow, the world's not going to end. And like, I can do this again. And that was I was so grateful for that. And then other people too chimed in and were like, it's okay, like cool, what's next? And like, we're so grateful for what you did and thanks for keeping us updated, and we're, move on to the next. So
it's good to know that I was the first email. No, only because it gives me the pole position in your next company, just from a selfish perspective. No, I had this happen with Raul. I told the story earlier when his executive from Superhuman spoke yesterday. When I see a founder fail, like, and the startup fails, it means the founder is going to come back even stronger. That happens 97 times out of 100. I mean, sometimes it does break a person. I will say that is a possibility. David, what was it like telling those investors, the people who believed in you, the people who wrote the checks, and how did they handle it?
It's a great question. And actually, the answer is that some investors just started kind of going quiet on me. And that was the telling thing, is when our numbers started going down, everybody was replying to my emails when our numbers were going up. But it really said a lot about our investors, and it's something that the different investors, and something that I'll always remember is, as the numbers started going down, some investors leaned in more, and some just kind of went silent.
What do you attribute that to? How did it make you feel?
I mean, I'll tell you, I will always appreciate and will immediately turn to and constantly when the people who leaned in, and you were obviously one of them, and probably the front of the pack. And whenever I have conversations with other founders call me all the time and will say, I know you raised from XYZ, what do you think? And I'm pretty honest about who was in my corner when I needed them.
This is a really important thing that I try to explain to other investors, since they look to me for some mentorship now after writing the book, is how things go down, how you behave in the darkest moments and the hardest moments is the defining moment of your career and in relationships. I don't think that applies just to startups. I think it applies to friendship. Your friend fucks up, or your friend's going through a hard time. It's very easy to not call that friend and say, hey, you're fucking up, or hey, how's it going? I read the news today. Oh boy, it's not good. And how do you feel? And that's really what defines, I think, the people in life who you want to spend more time with. And gosh, I've seen people get very upset. The only thing I ever get upset with, and I've learned to control it, is people who just don't respond. That's problematic. It's like, hey, I'm trying to help here. Like, if you're drowning, like, say something. And then I've reconciled it that sometimes if somebody's drowning, they're underwater and you can't hear them, right? Like, I've made this mental model for myself. Like, it's not their fault. They're underwater. Like, the sound doesn't travel so well when people are underwater. Right? It's a little. Jordan, how'd it go for you with
It wasn't that bad with the investors themselves, to be honest. And the people who put in the most money reacted the best. You know what I'm saying?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I don't know. I guess they were just, they were used to it. They had put in other companies, that kind of thing. So I had one person, a family friend, that put in $15K, and he gave me the most grief about it.
Wow. And
he's been a family friend for a long time, so I just kind of talked him off the ledge and all that. But it was really just family friends that took it.
And this is why when we talk about picking your investors being important, when things get tough, if somebody hasn't been through this before, they haven't had success, it can fuck with their heads. Like, I play cards with Phil Hellmuth, who's the world's greatest poker player. He's got 15 bracelets. And he can get tilted at times, kind of famous for it, but if he loses a hand of poker, he's the most winning player in the world. He's not going to turn the table over. And there are people who are not used to losing, and part of winning is being able to weather the bad beats. And one hand does not a poker career make, or one shot, at basket. So I really appreciate you guys sharing all this incredible feedback. And as I said, I'm looking forward to meeting with you, Jordan, hearing how Project Ambition is going. And Abby and David, recoup. And maybe the three of you can start working together. Huh? That's a good idea. If you need some co-founders, Jordan, get in there. All right, let's give him a big round of applause. Well done. Thank you also, Cooper.